Hello, good evening to everyone who's watching us. We should be live now on YouTube and LinkedIn. Please let us know in the comments or in the chat if you can see everything. We're really happy to see you here because obviously it's Friday night in Europe and there are lots of plans that could be competing with our stream, but you're here with us and we really appreciate it. Thank you so much. So super quick intro. My name is Kostya. I'm the co-founder of Hire. We have actually two things with the brand Hire this times. One, Hire.ai, and I'm going to send the link to the chat, at least on YouTube. You've probably seen it. We launched it just 2 weeks ago, and it's an AI note-taking tool for job interviews. But we also have Hire.me, which some people didn't know about. That's a little boutique recruitment agency for product professionals. And I think what's interesting, we call ourselves a recruitment agency, but in fact, we don't have any single recruiter. We only have product designers, product managers working with us. So it's more like a collective of great product folks who are helping companies find product talent and product people find great jobs. So please do check them out. Yeah, just a few words on the chat and how everything is going to work. So on LinkedIn, you can leave comments in this post and we'll see them. And if you have any great questions, please post them and we'll bring them on the screen so that people can see them and we'll discuss them. If you're on YouTube, you may need to create a channel. I think that's how they called in order to post comments. In fact, it just means clicking one button. It's very easy, so you can do it. Go ahead, and then you'll be able to post comments to the chat. Please note that all YouTube streams work with a slight delay. So we'll see your comments like maybe 10 or 15 seconds after you posted them at best. So the fact that we are very slow at reacting is not only because we're slow, but also because there is a delay. Please let me know in the chat which cities are you watching us from, and also what's your relationship with recruitment. Are you a recruiter? Are you a hiring manager? Are you a candidate? Maybe a combination of all of those. Please post this to the chat. Let's just make sure it works, and we'll react to a few of your comments. And in the meantime, I'll be introducing you my amazing guest today. So we're very proud and happy to have Seva with us. Seva is the founder of AliAnalytics.com and ITADigital.Agency. He participated in lots of brilliant projects. And what particularly caught me is that maybe about a year ago, we had a call with Seva, or maybe even longer than that. And he basically pitched me his approach to recruitment, which I thought was very non-conventional. So he doesn't run job interviews or almost no interviews and relies on other ways of validating the talent. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it actually works in practice. And we're going to go in details today about all the parts of this recruitment process. Some people believe that maybe there may be some astrology involved. So let's talk about that as well. We'll see. I can see Misha is joining us from Paris. He's a startup founder. Thank you so much, Misha. Please, anyone else, if chat works for you, let us know and post something about yourself in the chat. And in the meantime, let's just say hi to Seva.
Hi, Kostya. Hi, Chad.
Hi, good to see you.
Yeah, thanks for
How's
coming
it going?
here. Doing well, going well.
Very nice. Are you like what's your local time? It should be morning, right? You're in California.
Yeah, I'm in San Francisco. It's 10 a.m. here.
Oh, great. So at least you had time to wake up and maybe had a cup of coffee and everything, and not just jumping here right into the stream.
Right in progress, yeah.
Amazing, perfect. We also have like someone with a nickname Savage, a recruiter in an HR agency from Milan. Very interesting. And Zhenya is from San Sebastian, a kind of a team lead, maybe. Very good. Thank you. Please keep them coming. Without further ado, Seva, it's amazing to have you here. Can you maybe just start by telling a little bit about yourself? What do you do so that people who are less familiar with you than I am may also have some understanding?
Yeah, so I'm the founder of a startup called Ali Analytics, and we do full funnel analytics and attribution. So we show the efficiency of different marketing channels and their true ROI and where your highest LTV customers come from. It's an early stage startup, around 28, I believe, employees from all over the world, some from US, some from other countries. But what is more relevant today is that I've also been a founder of ITADigital.Agency, and it's an agency with more than 100 employees, 19 years old, and it's working
Wow.
on its own and is growing. But the key there is that I had experience of hiring more than 100 people over the long term, and firing some of them, unfortunately. But it's also part of experience of every manager.
Oh yeah.
So I had time and to experiment with different approaches, and I figured out how to do it best. And I personally believe that everyone should be doing like this, and I'll explain why.
Brilliant. Okay, let me just immediately address the elephant in the room that people want me to ask you about. Does it involve astrology? Do you ask for the date of birth and time of birth of the candidates?
I know people who ask, and I'm not judging them, but I don't do it, unfortunately.
Okay, now we can talk. Great. I actually I have mixed feelings about astrology as well. I'm not as against it, as opposed to it as many people would be. But okay,
We can do
let's
another
talk
stream
about.
about it.
Yeah, it's probably a topic for a separate stream. Or okay, let me put it differently. I pretty much don't know anything about it, but I am not as denying it as I used to be. Like in the past, I was like completely against it. If someone said astrology in front of me, I was just like, yeah, I can't even seriously talk to you. But now I'm like probably more tolerant to different people and different ways of living and ways to do things.
Agreed.
Anyhow, yeah, let's talk. My suggestion would be to go through your hiring process from the beginning. Let's just talk it step by step, and maybe like if I start from the very beginning, it would be probably identifying even the need to hire. Because I think many people fail at this stage. Sometimes they think they need a person, but they don't, in fact, or maybe like it's long overdue and they needed a person long before they started looking for someone. So what's your approach here? How do you know when to hire and who to hire?
Yeah, I used to do it like the natural way, just thinking, okay, maybe I need a designer, maybe I need a new manager here, just because like it looks natural, we have more tasks in that area, well, why wouldn't we hire someone? But I changed my approach, and mostly, except for interviews and test periods, I follow the methodology from the book Who. They call it
Right. Okay.
the A method of hiring. Solve your number one problem. It sounds like infobis a little bit.
Hold on a second. Yeah, I have a
Yeah,
copy
but it's
here.
actually great methodology and great book. And so my step number one is to think,
Show.
okay, what am I? Yeah, this is the book.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Yeah.
So
Please go ahead.
Mhm. Do you want to add something?
Oh no. Yeah. Sorry. Please go ahead. Sorry for interrupting.
So step number one is just think, okay, what is my goals for their 6 to 12 months in general? What are the priorities there? Who should I hire? What team do I need to make that possible? And from there, I come up with ideas. So that I need maybe a new manager for this specific team, or I need new experts or new specialist or designer or product or someone else. So the next step is, okay, what would be the goals I want this person to achieve in the first 6 to 12 months, and from there in the first 3 months, and from there in the first month. And it's just like 3 lines of text in the Google Doc. Just what would be the goals for this person, and from there I come up with specific requirements, and it's oftentimes it's completely different from what I thought initially. Like, okay, For example, I needed someone to take care of onboarding and integration processes in my startup. We do pretty custom things like dashboards and BI for our customers there at that step of the process. So I'm actually not looking for a person from SaaS companies. I need someone with relevant experience from the custom development integrators or someone
Right.
like okay, that was not obvious until I set specific goals and say like who I'm actually looking for.
Right. So you not only define what the person needs to be doing, but also the type of companies they should be coming from, most likely.
Yes, like the question there is what are the goals for this person and then how the awesome looks like. You can
Right.
write it down yourself. You can consult with fellow founders or experts or just someone to make it more accurate. But like you need to define that. And so
Yeah.
for right now, it just seems so natural to me. Like, why would you hire someone before you set your goals and you understand like who are you actually looking for? But that wasn't always the case.
Yeah, I think like when you said that initially you just thought you need, I need a designer, I need a marketer. I think that's like still the default probably to most people. But yeah, we're not judging it, and it's great to actually try to unpack what is it specifically that this person needs to achieve. And are there any universal traits, like maybe some skills or values that you would look for in any person, regardless of the role? And by the way,
Yes.
sorry, before you're going to ask, I want to ask the same question to our audience. Could you please drop in the chat what are the universal values or traits or skills that you would look for in people when you're hiring them?
Oh, I'm really curious what people will write there.
Yeah, I'll be bringing them on the screen as they come. But yeah, please tell us what's your version before we see anything.
So when I think about hiring someone, I completely ignore age, gender, country they live in, except for the time zones, things like this. But I think a lot about the cultural fit, how. mm, mm, and by cultural fit, I mean mostly values. So things are, and values are things that are important by themselves, not because of the rules or goals or something else. So it's like, for me, the being useful is very important. I want to be useful to colleagues, to clients, to world outside. And I want people around me to have the same mentality. For me, like honesty and transparency is really important. Okay, transparency as a more as a principle, but honesty is important. I don't want to uh, control people or check constantly something. Like I want to trust people and I want them to trust me, and it's like one of the basic value. Some people think it's very natural, others think it's not, and there is a difference.
How do you know? How do you know if someone is like trustworthy?
We'll get there. Oh, it's
Okay, good. Yeah, all right.
it's part of the interview and part of the testing process.
Okay, good. Yeah.
There are a few more values, like focus on development in general, like personal development, skills development, company development, products development, like making things better in general. Yeah, and then a few more, but these are the core ones.
Right, that's great. By the way, let's look at what's here in the chat. So I'll just start again quickly. Written communication, weirdly enough, from Misha. Autonomy and fast learning. Ability to take responsibility. Ownership and ambition. Project management, growth mindset. Lots of great things, actually. Lots of great things that I can definitely subscribe to some of them for sure.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how to check. Okay, and then by the way, do you have your values written, or is it more like implicit? How do you approach it?
Yes, they are written in very small details, like values, quotations from employees, like how do they describe it, not me,
Oh,
and
very cool.
principles.
Mhm.
I think I can share it after the stream. Like we can add it to posts.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Cool, cool, cool. Super interesting. Okay, so then like you defined what the person needs to achieve, what type of like some maybe certain skills, maybe even like values are written.
No,
What do you?
let me clarify here. I start compiling scorecard
Mhm.
where I will put all of my candidates, and I have to set specific scores for specific tasks. And I
Right.
want there to be like 2, 3 core questions that will make influence my decision. Mm, and like, does this person have very specific skill so he'll be able to achieve our goal? Maybe I remember the case I helped Miro to hire SEO marketing manager. So very combination of skills. Like it should be marketing manager with growth mindset, but also they should be they will be managing SEO efforts. So they should have experience in that one. And it's very narrow combination
Right.
of things. And for example, from my experience working with different marketers, I know that people either feel how SEO works or not. And it depends, like if their career started with SEO, then they feel it. If it's not, then there's no chance like they will figure it out. Like 99%, it's not possible. So
Yeah.
like the scorecard looked like this. So this person has growth mindset and growth experience in growth managerial roles. So like KPIs, I mean OKRs, growth, owning metrics, achieving them, and at the same time it's SEO native. So he knows and
Mm.
feels and have on hands experience in that thing. And then like in that case, the third one was about being comfortable working in hyper growth startup where the number of employees triple each year and objectives are constantly moving, and it's not for everyone. So
Right, for sure.
out of 20 requirements, there are actually 1 or 2 or 3 that are really important, and the whole interviewing and testing and hiring process should be built around to give you the best possible answers to those 2 or 3 questions, and that's it.
Mm. I love that. Actually, I love simplicity in everything we do, and that's actually such a great idea. Exactly. Instead of writing, I don't know, super long lists of requirements, which typically, like the typical job description, looks like I don't know, here are 10 skills that are required and like 20 responsibilities and everything. But instead, if you really, at least for yourself, decide what are the 3 key, like most important factors, that sounds great. That's fantastic.
Mhm.
Okay, so you put it all into the scorecard. You defined like who would you like to hire. What's next? Where do you usually look for candidates?
It's personal network, communities, and then broader audience and websites like Indeed and others, and LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
I try to source most of people from personal network and communities because this is a great filter in itself, and then I go broader. Kostya, come
Right,
back.
that's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sorry, I'm here. Yeah.
Mhm.
And do you have a strong preference for inbound candidates? I mean, that reacted to the job posting that you put versus candidates that you sourced or your recruiter sourced?
Not really. I mean, the um, mm, working with candidates who I know already, it's just faster. And if I can hire someone from personal network or communities, I'll do that.
Yeah.
But like it's a limited. If I can do it, I go broader. Just not because it's less valuable or something, just because it takes more time and effort to work with broader audience. But it's all fine. I had great hires both from community and from Indeed and LinkedIn, and I had awful hires both from community.
Right. Let me also drop this question to the chat, folks. Where do you typically look for candidates? Do you have any secrets, like any secret communities, maybe where you found the best candidates, or if you just post a job ad, what worked best for you? Super curious to maybe we can exchange our own experiences. We post sometimes like to our networks as well. I would post on my LinkedIn regularly the roles that we have, and we definitely see some inbound candidates there. Okay, let's say there is a candidate, whether you sourced it from communities or whatever, or like from LinkedIn, or this person applied. What happens then? How do you evaluate the candidate? We're probably getting to the most crucial, because here, like everyone, like, or the default approach would be to just, okay, let's interview, let's put them through a chain of like pipeline of interviews, starting with like usually recruiter screen, and then going into whatever like technical interviews, culture fit interviews, and whatnot. So what do you do here?
Yeah. So this is where it starts to be really different. For example, screening interview. So what does it mean? You go back and forth to figure out the time slot. You have this 15 minutes, 20 minutes in the call just to get initial reaction. You can outsource it to a recruiter or someone on your team or assistant, but then like you're not sure how they are presenting the company, how they are. It becomes a filter, and you have to trust that those people and that process. And like it's not stable process. It's not so reliable. It takes so much time. It adds weeks to the process, going back and forth there with time slots. It requires so much people's time on both sides. So like I thought, like do we really need it? And the approach that I suggest is I try to make position descriptions very, very detailed. And I send once people send, so I tell the story, like where we are at the company, what we're doing, what are our goals, what is the challenge here, who do we want to hire and why. And it's already like much more details than any typical
Can I just
position.
react to this quickly? Because you're touching on a very important topic. I think there's whole art of writing the job description, and there is an like opinion that I think I heard from Natasha, a friend of mine. She actually even wrote an article about it. But like basically, TLDR is that the best job descriptions are like landing pages. So it's like marketing. You have to advertise the role, and instead of telling like you're required to do X and Y and Z, you're just pitching the role and the company. Like you're telling what's great about the company, what's great about the role, what would be amazing, like what types of projects the person is going to work on.
Even that it's okay. I appreciate. I really like that approach of making it as ads and landing pages, but I don't want to oversell the position, because I want to hire someone who will be great for this role, and but I want to be honest and transparent upfront as well. So if I oversell the position and then reality doesn't match those promises, then it becomes a problem.
Right, that's fair. Yeah, that's probably a tricky
And
balance.
actually, this is where like mutual matching starts. I'm transparent and in my job descriptions, so this is and attracts people who also value transparency and honesty, and they will be more willing to go through my next step, which is filling out a form, and it takes like 30 minutes, 1 hour For some people, it's
Mhm.
faster. For some people, it's longer, with like 15, 20 in-depth questions. And I literally write them. Okay, we're skipping this initial interview, and this is everything. This is all we can share about the company and a lot of things. I can write Loom or something to like so people can see me and see how I'm talking and feel me. And then I ask them to fill out this form. So I say like, okay, you spend exactly the same time, but it won't be on a call. We ask you to answer these questions. And
Right.
I
Can you give
think we,
examples of like, sorry to interrupt, examples of questions? Are they all open questions that you would ask them during the
yes,
interview? Like, I don't know what.
essentially all of them are open.
Oh, all of them. Okay. Can you give a few
For example,
examples?
I say like, okay, we are looking for a person with this managerial experience in this typical scenario. Like, give me one example of metrics you achieved and how you do it, and it's cool.
That's Mac OS. Let's go all in. How do we do it? It's not working for me. Hey, come on.
It's like magic, but
There we
it's
go.
not
Okay,
working
yeah.
correctly.
Yeah, no, it works. It works. Actually, I kind of like it. We have these things on many
Oh,
calls now.
new one. Cool.
No, you can do it. Like macOS does all of this. You can do all of those as well. But okay, sorry. Yeah, every single stream we are distracted by this. I don't know what to do. Sorry. Yeah, let's get back. So open questions about, for example, giving examples of the metrics that they want.
And how did they achieve them? And like the trick there is to give a field that is big enough but not too big, and this is how you're or just give examples, like I expect like 5 sentences here or something, so people don't answer with one line, but don't write like too long essays there.
Yeah.
Another one, like for some roles, I ask for familiar the skill level for specific tools or skills, and I ask them, okay, write down what most example of the most challenging task you solved with Excel, with I don't know, mirror boards, with project planning tools, with I don't know, SEO, and I give examples like it should be not yes or no, it should be something specific, but just one line of one example, one line, and even that already tells me: do people understand me? Do people like when you ask like for example, for Excel or Google Sheets, how familiar people with it, everyone will say you like they are. But then you ask, okay, do you know VLOOKUPs? Yes. Do you know pivot tables? What is it? Okay, I got you. Now I understand how.
So that's very interesting. So these are basically the types of questions that people would typically ask during the interview, like one of the first interviews. Give me an example of a situation when something, whatever, like you achieved. But I think like I'm assuming why people like to ask them on the spot is for a few reasons. First, you can see how the person reacts on the spot. So like if they have all the time in the world, they can use, I don't know, ChatGPT to write the perfect answer or whatever. Although yeah, it's interesting that you can probably argue with that as well, but then like also you can ask them clarification or like clarifying questions or follow-ups immediately to what they said and try to go deeper into like certain like trying to go deeper into what they said essentially, but also
If
I think
you
sorry,
have
go ahead.
all time in the world, that's great. If you have recruiters who you trust completely, that they won't spoil the process and they will make good judgments, that's great. And I think your idea of bringing in designers and product managers as hiring managers is really promising. Um, but we want to level up the playing field. We don't want to be at less custom, less frictional, and less like when you have 20 people on your team hiring and it is not their profession, it just like happens from time to time. You don't want that to be too custom.
Yeah. Oh, that's actually very interesting because you actually literally ask the exact same question in exact same phrasing to every single person. So that's the most like least biased approach probably, and the most fair and like equitable for everyone. So everyone goes like, and typically interviews should be like this, but in the real interviews, when you're talking to a real person, of course, yeah, you can.
Possible.
It's very difficult to be. Yeah, and we actually had a stream on this, so you can check on our YouTube channel. We were talking about bias specifically. But your approach there probably removes a lot of bias because all you have is like questions phrased exactly the same in exactly the same order for everyone, and then you can just really compare answers.
And it takes essentially the same time from people as the first interview, but gives them like they're more comfortable, they have time, they are not pressed by the interviewer or the process. And yeah, some people don't like it. They like to jump on the calls and like, why do you ask me to write something? But we're in a remote first company. You will be writing a lot of stuff. So it's just fine to check that.
Yeah. So that's probably another thing, because if the company optimizes for in-person collaboration, then it probably does make sense to have in-person interview or like a video call interview, whatever. But if most of your work is going to be spent like asynchronously exchanging documents and in messengers and chats, that's how you should evaluate for the skills, and the written skills become way more important.
It will probably be both, so you should evaluate both. At this stage, we ask for written answers.
Yeah.
Let's go to the next one.
Wait. Before we go, that's a brilliant question from Misha. Like, if you write a question in a way that a person that has zero experience in the topic can write a good answer to, your question isn't good enough, no?
Oh, yeah. It's actually a special art how to write those questions. So they provide you extra value because at first you want to ask everything and it becomes too long. But then like you read 10 examples of answers and I say, okay, I had 10 different answers and that doesn't influence my decision in either way. We should completely drop this question or change it. So
do you have any tips and tricks that you can share about what great questions look like?
I have some examples here. Typically, it's about like some like in-depth question where people with experience will answer one way. Okay, like my favorite type, and it's general question. What are the typical problems you faced setting up Google Analytics for example?
Oh, okay, great.
And this question, like, what were the problems that you faced? Like, you can't. ChatGPT won't help you. Google won't help you. You either had that experience yourself or not. That's it. And the more experience you have, the more problems you can name.
Right. Very interesting. I love it. Okay, cool. Like also before we go further, there was an interesting question from Vladimir. Seva, do you have public example of a job description and response form? Maybe you have some open positions.
Right now there will be just one open position. I can send some recent one. You can find them on my LinkedIn and also Telegram channel. Yeah, I think like we can add them to the stream recording after the.
Okay, cool. Yeah, let me just I'll drop a link to your LinkedIn if you don't mind, for folks who may be watching us on YouTube and have not seen, because I had a post about you. Yeah, that is Seva's LinkedIn. So add him, follow him, and you can probably find something there. Okay, great. Like, also, there was a question from Sergey, but honestly, Sergey, I'm really sorry, I don't understand your question. So can you rephrase it? I can put it on the screen if you, maybe Seva, you will understand. But let me read for those who are maybe listening to us. There is an opinion that in the nearest future, a person might change a career a few times during life that will last longer. That's clear, but will any teams be ready to hire people that are 70 plus?
There are, I think, like two questions here.
Yeah,
First
none of
one
them
is
is
about
related necessarily to the
career
surveys that we
changes.
were talking about, but
I mean, both is, I saw a lot of people who discriminate against the age. And say, oh, developer over 40 years old will be too slow. Like, come on. Have you seen those developers and have you tried working with them? Like
let's
with
put John
so much
Carmack
experience.
against a few young, fresh college grads and see who will call his
Yeah.
vote.
Of course, there will be like different percentage, different motivation, different percentage of success. I mean, and different groups like more or less likely to succeed based on like hundreds of factors in play. But if you are not Google or Tesla, you want to find best possible talent for your specific team and culture, for your specific tasks and goals, and like you shouldn't narrow down your search based on like some random criteria.
Yeah, that actually brings me to one clarification that I would like to ask. In this form that people have to fill, do you have any questions that are not necessarily trying to probe their experience, but are more like about their general situation or motivation? Like, for example, why you choose analytics, or where are you based? What's your comp expectations? Like anything of those nature?
In most cases, we try to set a range of the compensation upfront and publish it, so not hide
Right.
it.
Okay. Oh, and by the way, in California, I think you should do it now. Still not the case in Europe.
Yeah, I think so. But we're hiring everywhere, so it's.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's. Anyway, we do it.
Yeah.
Because it saves so much time. They might be. You might like give a very broad range for if you want to hire executives, but that's the only thing there. I just ask, like, give me a link to your LinkedIn or CV, or write a few words about your background, because like I wouldn't read it that deeply. I'm curious where this person came from, what did they study, where did they work, but it's not like I will be using lens to examine each word there. So I just ask natural question, like, tell me a little bit about your background in the form of CV or LinkedIn or just text, and that's it.
Yeah. By the way, I started thinking that maybe there is a version where you don't look for CV or anything, like, and actually start filtering just based on how people react to questions, like completely skill-based approach. Like nothing about their previous experience or like companies they worked at, because you may be then again biased. Oh, this person worked at Google, they probably are great and whatever. And if you just have answers to questions, you can first evaluate the skills, and then like later you'll still probably look into their resume and maybe ask them about certain situations at their work and whatnot.
Let's jump to the next part, because like
Sure.
we're postponing
Yeah,
the
sorry,
most
just
interesting.
still one little clarification from Mariam. Is this form meant for the first stage of interview only, or this approach works for complete process? So that's like, yeah, actually that's a good segue into the next stage. What happens after you checked all the responses to the form?
So I checked all the responses. I filter out like maybe from I approve from 20 to 70%. And okay, I filtered out irrelevant people who are obviously not a match. And then I set up an interview, but I call it reverse interview. So instead of asking people and putting them to a stress position. I suggest them to come up with questions about the company, about our goals, about this position, about the team, and everything else that they are interested in. And that part of the interview, it could take just like 30 minutes is enough. It's still usually a 1 hour interview. But the first part, at least half of the part, is reverse interview, and then I can ask a few questions that I want to know. And that reverse interview works amazing. So first of all, people relax a little bit, and they can ask what they want and what they need. Second, those questions, it breaks the rules a little bit. So instead of pressing people and asking for information, I first give them information. They see my style, my responses, my transparency, and that sets the right tone for the whole process going forward.
Right.
Next, actually, the questions themselves are really good indicator of experience and involvement, and I don't discriminate people who don't prepare to those interviews, because I know that people can go to a lot of interviews, and that's fine. I write them upfront that the format will work like this, and I'll ask you to ask questions, so they have an opportunity to prepare. But if they don't prepare, but they still ask great questions, that's completely fine. So the questions themselves, they allow me to tell my story, to tell more about the position, and help me understand how they think, what they ask, what they're interested in. Some people are like obviously damaged by previous experience at work, and I think, okay, how often do you pay the salary? Like what will like those things that come from um, previous bad experiences. And I okay, it's fine. Everything is really simple, and it just works, and so on. And some people comes from curiosity. They say, okay, that's interesting. So why did you decide to build a platform like this? Why did you choose this architecture? Why did you choose this business model? Did you try that? How you're compared to this competitor? And like this starts getting us on the same page around the job and work itself.
Right. So instead, like it's an opportunity for them to ask you questions, but also like that helps you see how they're interested, how they're okay. And do you then, I don't know, do you make any decisions based on how this conversation goes? So can you say like that someone is no hire
Of
after
course.
they?
Yeah. It's like a 50% on average, sometimes more. We filter out after this interview.
50%. Wow, that's pretty significant. What I don't know, what could be the red flags, or what should someone do to be filtered out if they had an opportunity to ask questions?
Well, for example, it turns out that they are not really interested in the company, and this is a two-way process. I want to know a person better and see and feel how it will play out to work together. And I want them to be interested. I give them all the opportunity to ask any of their questions. Like if they don't want answers, if they are not interested, if they're looking just for yet another job in sales.
Right.
Okay, good luck with that.
Yeah, Mariam is asking on that note, how do you react when someone asks not really deep questions, like just tell me about your company? Is that a red flag?
No. It's like if they ask only those questions, it could be a flag. But like I try to give deep answers. I try to tell a story, the reason behind it, and if I don't have a step by step deeper questions, then I think, okay, maybe they are not really interested. but it's a two-way
Yeah.
process. So I make the first step.
Yeah. Okay, it's good. And by the way, Sergey, I've seen your comments in the chat. We may get back to this topic a bit later because it's just a slightly like diverging from what we're talking about right now. So if you have time at the end of the conversation, we'll get back to it. Because yeah, the topic of career switching and age is important, but not necessarily related to what we're talking about right now. Okay, so that is a reverse interview, and some people pass it, some people don't. What happens next?
Next is I try to find a way to work with the person a little bit. In most cases, and the formats there, they could be really different.
So it's not necessarily, is it, I know a lot of people do take home exercises or like a probation period. Is it something of that nature or something different?
It's something of that nature, but there are some key differences there. So first of all, in most cases, it's a paid option. Second, I try to highlight that it's so. For example, it might take 20 work hours to work together to come to some conclusion. If it's part-time, it will take a few weeks. If it's full-time, it could be just one full week. But this is a process of knowing each other better, seeing each other in work on real tasks, and not on your own, but together. So. And the most likely outcome, like at least 50% that you won't pass because you see it's not a match from your side or it's not a match from our side. So you shouldn't stop looking for other interviews, other positions, and so on. But what I found out that it's a problem for employer to make a decision based on interviews without working with the person, but it's also a problem for employee to make a decision about the company without based purely on interviews without working with people from the team from the company.
Right. It's like a
And
chance for both sides to see
yeah,
actually what it's like working together, what it's going to feel like.
and I think in Europe it's kind of strange idea for most people, but here in US, it turned out that it's actually almost like more people do that kind of thing. They engage in consulting roles, in advisory roles, in part-time roles, and some of them just transition to full-time employment naturally, and it becomes a mainstream workflow for people, and it works both ways because I can't highlight this enough. It is important for both sides. I can't understand why people are not doing it. There is even concept. There was a study that shows that people know if they will stay in the company longer than a year in their first few weeks of employment. So internally they already know, like, is it something they want to skip and go to the next step, to the next job, or do they really like it and they want to stay here for a long time? Like, why do we hire people without that first weeks of experience and ask them to make long-term commitments and do our long-term commitments ourselves without that experience? It's crazy. Like why do people still do it?
Yeah, I have many questions, and I can see that questions in the chat appear as well. Wait, but before we go, can you give actually a little bit more details? So is it just a single project? How long is it typically?
It actually depends. Like I've been practicing this approach for 10 years, I think, already. So like when you have, like, for example, we hire analysts. It's a pretty standard process for us. So we try to standardize it. We give the same task that requires a couple of calls with the team to see what questions when they ask and what they will show as intermediate results. But it's still paid, but it's fairly standardized. So it's almost like a test case, but with small connections with the team.
So an interactive take-home test.
Interactive, yeah, interact. They want.
Oh yeah, sorry. Just just wanted on that note bring up Veronica's question. So the process of spending time on a complex interview process is replaced by a trial period in the company. How is it regulated from legal perspective? Is there still a probation period after that?
It's just a part-time job, like contractor thing. It's like we assign you a small project. Let's work on this small project, with that will pay you this amount of money or on hourly basis. It depends. Doesn't really matter. So like it's legally possible to engage with people into small projects. That
right.
is a
Just
small project.
start as a contractor and then probably hire full time.
Yeah, we still do probation periods after that, but the conversion rate there is 90% plus.
Right. Okay.
When we go through this trial period where we work together on something and we encourage people not to stop looking for other jobs, then both of us make more conscious, better decision. So the probability of success is much higher. Conversions to the next stages are much higher, and the overall process is much better for everyone.
Misha is asking, so how many people for the same role you're trialing with at the same time? Feels expensive if you didn't filter enough during the first two stages.
So
great question.
At least 3. So we expect conversion rate there to be like 33%. So if we want to hire one person, we need 3 test cases, people on this stage. If we want to hire 3 people, so at least 10.
That's interesting. Yeah.
So we expect people to say like, okay, I tried this and it's not working for me. I don't like your style. I don't like you. I don't like your tasks. I want more creative. I want more standard. I want more technical. I want more customer facing.
Right.
People are different. And when you look at their job description, like you're not sure what's exactly will be going on there.
You know what also, like I'm trying to wrap my head around and it feels a little bit difficult to me, like for someone to actually experience what it's like working, they need to be properly onboarded, I don't know, added to a bunch of chats, given access to Notion or Wiki or whatever. It takes time to build relationships with other people. But here, like they have to go through this somehow like really quickly, or it's probably not deep enough. So how do you solve for that? Like what's onboarding into this project looks like for them?
So like for standard roles, it's what I described. It's more standardized. It's okay. It's not perfect, but it's so much better. It's something in between interviews and the real probation period. And we can optimize it to highlight specific communication style or specific work types, or so we can make it closer to real experience for people. With new roles where you don't know what will happen actually, it could be just okay, let's do this part-time. Here are the few tasks, and they could be different for different people. Like ideally they should be the same, but they could be. So when you know less about the position, the role, the qualities, everything, it could be more custom and more like a on the go, more you invest more time there, and you figure out together with those people like what it will look like. And it's fine if you don't know something, you just say it and you figure out together. So it's a very broad spectrum. For when I hired executives to existing company, to my company, that process was even longer. I asked them for to do a few calls with other leads on the team to come up with analysis, to come up with the strategy and what will be their plan for the first 100 days. So I willingly allocated significant amount of my time and my leadership team's time because if we want to hire successfully new leads to our leadership team, like, we should invest time into that and not just interviews, but actually like start working at least on this audit and strategy phase.
That's definitely a big deal. And Polina reacts also in an interesting way that, like, yeah, in general, it's cheaper in the long term to pay even a few people for part-time to test than hiring a wrong full-time person.
Oh, yes.
100%. Yeah, agreed.
I actually have a story. I said a story about that.
Please.
Like first time this process, we came up with this process was when it was 2013. We had an office in Bali, and we required people to fly into Bali for at least 6 months. So the hiring mistakes were extremely extremely expensive, both for us and for people.
Oh, yeah. By the way, I just recently heard a story also, like in one of the friendly chats, that yeah, someone was on the probation period, and that probation period was cancelled, but the person relocated for the job from, I think in that case it was from Australia to the UK. But they're also on the visa there, and their visa, like they only have a very limited amount of time then to find a new job, or like their visa is cancelled effectively because it was paid by an employer, and they have to then go back and pay for relocation costs. It's a disaster if it's wrong hire and someone like went that far to go to join a new company.
And then, like when you analyze those cases, okay, once we started working, I felt that that it wouldn't work in the first like 2 weeks. Like, why would you relocate a person just to make that decision in the first 2 weeks? You could work for 2 weeks first and then make long-term decisions. Same thing with people. Sometimes they came to our office and they say, like, guys, you're great, but I'm not ready for that intensive work, or I don't work in this office or these time zones. Like it's too complicated to work in the morning or in the evening, depending on. So like, try it first.
You know what's interesting? I also wanted, like, if you share books, I wanted to share another book and a quote from it, and this time it's Work Rules from Laszlo Bock. I think he used to be a VP of people at Google at some time, and they quote a research here that says that the research was done in 1998. It's a pretty old one, so I'm not sure if that's like super relevant these days, but basically it tells that it was a meta-analysis of 85 years of research on how well assessments predict performance. And so the unstructured interviews have like only explained 14% of an employee's performance. Like basically, it's nothing or close to it. The best predictor of how someone will perform in a job is a work sample test, but still that was 29%, not too high. And maybe like structured interviews are better, but general, like that was 26%. So maybe by a combination of a structured interview, or like in your case, it happens in the form of survey and the work sample test, you get closer to actually like having a better, it's probably still not perfect, but at least better, slightly better prediction of how someone can perform.
In my case, the conversion for probation periods went up from like 50% and not to and those decisions were not easy and not perfect, to like 90%. And like I typically work with people for many years. Most of not all, but most of hires are successful, and people like the company, and the hirer. It's not always me. In most cases, it's not me. It's someone on from the leadership team. They are pretty happy with who they hired. So from my personal experience, it's like 2 times better in metrics and feeling and experience.
Yeah. Let's go on. We're actually now speaking for over an hour, so I hope it feels like the conversation goes. So we can stay for a little bit more time. And folks, please drop your questions in the comments. I can see that a few more appeared, and we'll address them. But I just wanted to also talk about what happens after this. Okay, let's say like 3 people have completed like whatever, like test exercise, interactive exercise. They had to make a few calls. How do you evaluate this, and how do you make decision? And are there any other
Oh,
stages after that?
yeah. So in some cases, the other stages are pretty standard. So if I'm hiring a person or someone on a smaller team hires someone, so just check the results, make a conversation with the person about like their experience and their results, talk among each other, and make a decision. But in other cases where it's more structured, more standard roles, I actually ask people to present their results to the whole team who will be hiring them, where they that specific team where they goes, and there are like 3, 4, 5 people from the team involved. So the candidate presents their results, asks some questions from the team, and then there is a very specific process. This hiring team goes to a Slack channel after this presentation has finished, goes to the Slack channel and answers 3 key questions about this person for this position all at the same time. So like 3, 2, 1, enter.
Wow.
This is
Very
very
interesting.
important to eliminate bias from people. And the questions there are like, do you want to work with this person on your projects? Do you feel that they will like get to the next level and become senior autonomous contributor in the next 6 to 9 months, or like 3 to 12, depending on the. And are you comfortable putting this person in front of the client on your behalf, so they would communicate to other people on behalf of yourself or the company? And those 3 questions, like they really help to make those assessments. And when people answer differently, they start like explaining why did they say this, or so they like share extra information, extra assessments that they have, and they discuss it with each other. And then they have, it's not a voting, it's a consent thing. They repeat this process, or just someone say like, okay, with this information I change my answer from yes to no, or with this information I change my answer from block to like, okay, it's fine, let's proceed. But if someone on that team blocks the hiring process, then it's a no-go.
So does mean that any single no from anyone is a
It's
no-go?
typically not the whole team. It's like 3, 4, 5 people from the team, but it's just enough. And that solves another problem where like manager decided to hire a person to this team, but the team actually don't want any new people, or don't want this specific person. So that match is also so important.
Yeah.
And
So
also that helps people on the team to understand how the decisions are made, what is important in this role and in this team, and what are the strong sides and weak sides of this hire, what to expect. So again, transparency, development, usefulness. All of this is like these minor things in the whole process. These values are there.
Very cool. And it's cool that, yeah, it goes back to the values that are important for the company in the first place. Nice way of tying it all together. I think what's interesting, so that last part is almost like a structured debrief. So you have a group of people, they saw the presentation of the work that the person has done, and I know how this presentation went, and then they can make their decision on whether they want to hire this. And if there's a single no of those, like let's call it whatever, like a recruitment panel, then it's no-go.
Mm-hmm. And those are not professional recruiters. It's just people on the team.
Sure, peers probably, I'm assuming,
Peers,
right?
yeah.
Of that person, yeah. Very, very interesting. That should be very stressful for the candidate, though. Like present your work in front of people who you practically don't know, and then you're going to be judged on that. And like any single person who's not going to be happy will. But you already invested so much time and energy into this.
It is, unfortunately, and there are ways to make it less stressful. So, for example, we started doing like internal presentation where someone from the team who gave that task to a candidate actually asked them to present that work and gives feedback, so they have some time to prepare to possible questions with specific person that they have relationships with and who gave them that task. But I mean, yeah, that part could be improved. It's still stressful.
Yeah, and also, are you not over-indexing on presentation skills here?
But
Like,
on
how
the other
important
hand,
are presentation skills?
sometimes uh, like in our case for analysts, it's probably a bad idea to check how they perform under the stress. It's not their job to perform under the stress, actually. But
Right.
for example, for account managers, it's part of the job because you never know where the conversation with clients will
Yeah.
go. So
Yeah.
yeah, in some cases, it could be even like part of the process.
Interesting. But after that, okay, let's say this is passed. And you like everyone voted, and it's let's say unanimous yes. So people are happy to hire this person. Have you ever had a chance that I don't know 2 or 3 are all yeses? How to make a decision then?
It's for standard roles, it's just an ongoing process. Whoever comes first wins. So
Okay.
people,
Yeah,
people who are
advantage,
more
first mover
proactive
advantage. It is a thing.
who are more
Yeah.
proactive and do things faster, they have a priority, and it's just fair. When we need to hire just one person for specific roles, we can like say, okay, we can try to time it in a specific way, and we say, okay, it's probably like we will give you answer in the next 5 days, and we'll try to time it in a specific time.
But do you do any, is that the final part before the offer? Do you do any, I don't know, background checks, reference checks for these people?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no, depending on the position. I think we can do better at background checks. Okay, but for more important roles, we do more background checks. For more standard roles, we do less background checks because, like, for more standard roles, like actual work speaks for itself because we know
Right.
where to look. When you have when 10 presentations of the same task by 10 different people, you start noticing small things that highlight their true expertise, approach, problem solving skills. Are they suitable for this specific role? So in those cases, background checks are less important. If you hire someone to an executive position that is new to the company, and the bet is very big there, then you should do
Yeah.
more background
Yeah.
checks.
Yeah, if you follow like who, literally, I think they like
Oh,
calling a manager, asking how would you rate this person on a
um,
0 to 10 scale and things like that.
mhm.
Not sure
I
if
mean,
it's a great practice or not.
I feel like they are overselling that part of the process because no one would do it themselves, and they would hire that team of the authors
Yeah,
of the book.
maybe. A question from chat from Victor. if I understood correctly, for Seva, it is important that the candidate is primarily interested in the company's product, goals, the team, and an overall lifestyle match. Were there cases when a person does not have relevant experience, but they are still interested in the product so much, have chemistry with the team, and does such person have a chance to get hired?
In most cases, yes, but that depends on the company, stage, team, and so on. So, for example, for well-established roles um, and for like agency type businesses, it's the whole business model is built on the hiring more junior people and helping them grow faster. And this is just part of the agency world. You hire promising junior people and make it work. Give them experience, give them some money, give them projects, give them guidance, and so on. When you hire an executive to a critical role and the whole company's future depends on their performance in the next 6 months, like no, no chance.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, folks, I think you're getting tired and it's been a long conversation. So I'll offer the last call to drop questions. If you want anything else, any looming questions, please put them into the chat and we can still take one. And I may just ask one last question from my side. And that would be going back to the candidate experience. What do candidates think about this process? Have you heard anything from them? Like, yeah, do they like it? Did they not like it? What's their opinion?
Initially, when I introduced this process, I thought that people would say like, what is this? Like, I don't want to, but people responded really well, and they like the opportunity to feel the work, to feel the team, to see how it works out for them in reality. Especially remote work, like that was not a thing before the pandemic. People should try it before committing. And yeah, but I was surprised even more when I thought that more senior people with more options, they would say like, why would I do something like this when I have so many options? But in reality, it turns out that they have exactly the same problem, how to make a decision based on these structured interviews where everyone tries to sell each other something. And like the more senior the position, the more they lean to like trials of some kind, projects, advising, consulting. So, and it gives you actually a hint that like if smart, experienced senior people tend to do more things like this, then like it's probably a good thing for everyone.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much for giving all the detail. Yeah, I would echo what Vladimir said. I do like such non-classical approaches. Appreciate you shared it in detail. Yeah, thank you so much for everyone who watched us today. I know it's Friday night in Europe, so it's time to go to pubs if you're in Ireland like me, or the UK, or do anything else if you're in other parts of the world. It's time to get a second coffee or third coffee if you're in San Francisco. Seva, thank you so much for joining. It's been a great pleasure having you on the stream, and I hope it will help all of us think more about what's the value of the process that we use, what are the possible evolutions of the processes, maybe encourage people to experiment with it, and that's just great.
Cool. Thanks for having me here. Like, I enjoyed this conversation and hope that our audience enjoyed it too.
Great. Thank you, everyone. This stream is gonna still be available on YouTube at the same link, so you can watch it anytime if you want. And with that, until next time.